Here's your wrestling news for October 7th, 2025. Your headlines for today include John Cena's final WWE opponent possibly revealed. Fans can't believe who it is. WWE fans confused. What makes an Australian street fight different? WWE botch or intentional? What really happened with Paul Heyman on Raw? Trouble in the bloodline. Roman Reigns upset with Jimmy Uso over one issue. Longtime tag team on verge of breakup. Face turn possible. What happened to Rhea Ripley? And more. Ever since John Cena made his shocking announcement at Money in the Bank 2024 that he'd retire at the end of 2025, the WWE Universe has been buzzing with one burning question: who will be the man to finally retire the franchise? Now a 17-time world champion, Cena's farewell tour has been nothing short of legendary. He's already gone toe-to-toe with some of his greatest rivals, including Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Brock Lesnar, and is set to face AJ Styles at Crown Jewel in Perth, a symbolic matchup that feels full circle for both men. But according to new reports, Cena's final opponent may be someone he's never faced one-on-one before. Reliable sources including WRKD Wrestling have reported that the current plan for Cena's last ever match is for him to step into the ring against none other than Gunther, the Ring General himself. Several other outlets have echoed this report, making it one of the strongest rumors surrounding Cena's farewell run. If true, this would mark Gunther's second high-profile retirement of the year, following his career-ending victory over Goldberg at Saturday night's main event in July. It would also cement his legacy as one of WWE's most dominant modern-era performers, an unstoppable force who sends icons into the sunset. As for Cena, his time is winding down fast. After Crown Jewel, he reportedly has just 4 appearances left before hanging up his boots: 2 episodes of Raw in November, Survivor Series, and then his official retirement match in December. Given the limited dates on his calendar, fans shouldn't expect much interaction between him and Gunther before the big showdown, making their eventual collision even more anticipated. If the Ring General truly becomes the man to retire John Cena, it could signal WWE's next major power shift. Would Gunther then be in line for a World Championship push, possibly switching brands to target the one title that's eluded him so far? What do you think? Should Gunther be the one to end John Cena's career, or is there another superstar more fitting for that honor? Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. A week after making his long-awaited return and exacting revenge on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker for the brutal attack at Clash in Paris that left him sidelined for over a month, Roman Reigns kicked off the October 6th episode of Raw with a fiery in-ring promo. Before the OTC could even address his comeback, Reed interrupted, accompanied by the Oracle Paul Heyman. The former wise man wasted no time hyping up the damage Reed had inflicted in Paris, proudly reminding everyone that the Auszilla was the one who left Reigns stretchered out. They engaged in a tense war of words where Heyman told Reigns that not once in his career, nor in the storied careers of his late father Sika and Uncle Afa, had any of those men ever been taken out of an arena on a stretcher and carried to the hospital the way Reigns was in Paris. Bronson Reed backed up the insult, adding that Sika and all of Roman's uncles were never stretchered out, before smirking and asking how they would feel if he was the one to put Roman back in that position. Reigns responded sharply, telling Reed that he didn't know his father or uncles, but the dumbass next to you did. The tribal chief then added that if his father were here, he'd tell me to fight you right now. That's when Heyman stepped in and made things official: Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed at Crown Jewel in an Australian street fight. Reigns accepted the challenge immediately, but not before taking one last verbal jab, saying the pair were walking out like a couple of bitches after coming in like tough guys. Enraged, Reed charged back toward the ring, only to be met mid-ramp with a Superman punch that sent him crashing into the timekeeper's area. Officials rushed in to separate the two as Reigns climbed the ropes, holding his ground and staring down Reed to close out the segment. For those wondering, the Australian street fight stipulation isn't expected to differ much from a standard street fight. It's more about the branding than the rules, a no disqualification brawl where anything goes. That said, there's growing talk backstage that Bronson Reed is in the vision mainly to take losses and protect Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. Given that, and the fact that the match takes place in Reed's home country, the question now is, will WWE pull the trigger on a surprise hometown win for the Auszilla, or is this destined to be another statement victory for Roman Reigns? Sound off in the comments below and let us know what you think. During the heated promo exchange on Raw, Paul Heyman made a bold claim. He emphasized that Roman Reigns had been stretchered out for the first time in his career following Clash in Paris, but longtime fans know that isn't exactly true. The tribal chief has, in fact, been stretchered out before. Back in 2017, during his brutal rivalry with Braun Strowman, Reigns was on the receiving end of one of the most vicious beatdowns in Raw history. The feud between the two was an all-out war, and one backstage segment in particular left Reigns completely decimated. That night, Strowman unleashed a relentless assault on Reigns, throwing him around like a rag doll, smashing him into walls, and leaving him so battered that officials had no choice but to stretcher him out of the arena. But the attack didn't stop there. As Reigns was being wheeled away, Strowman returned to inflict even more damage, toppling the stretcher and sending Reigns crashing to the ground. The moment became one of WWE's most infamous backstage assaults. So while Heyman declared that Bronson Reed was the first man to ever leave Reigns stretchered, that statement doesn't hold up to history. It's more likely the WWE chose to avoid bringing up the Braun Strowman incident altogether, especially since the monster among men was quietly released from the company just a few months ago. Tonight's episode of Raw delivered one of the most surprising upsets in recent memory, as Maxine Dupree scored a shocking countout victory over Becky Lynch. The match came after last week's backstage assault where the Women's Intercontinental Champion attacked Dupree without warning. Heading into the match, Lynch clearly expected an easy win, but that wasn't what she got. From the opening bell, Dupree brought the fight to the man, showing resilience and fire far beyond her experience level. She countered several of Lynch's trademark moves, reversed her momentum, and even came close to pulling off a few near falls that had the crowd buzzing. As frustration began to boil, Becky took things to the outside, slamming Maxine into the steel steps before driving the edge of a massive Prime hydration bottle into her ribs. That aggression ended up costing her. While Lynch took a moment to taunt the crowd, Dupree crawled back into the ring just in time. The referee's count reached 10, and Becky Lynch was officially counted out. The stunned reaction from the audience said it all. Even with a slightly rushed count from the referee, the result stood. Maxine Dupree had just beaten Becky Lynch. The referee's noticeably fast count could play a big role in what comes next. Don't be surprised if Becky Lynch uses that botched count as justification to demand a rematch, setting up another showdown between the man and Maxine Dupree in the weeks ahead. Now, all things aside, Becky once again proved why she's one of the best to ever do it, turning a fresh face with limited experience into a believable threat. Her frustration, body language, and sheer storytelling made the entire segment feel electric. And to Maxine's credit, once the nerves settled, she rose to the occasion with one of the most impressive performances of her young career. But not everyone was sympathetic to Becky's loss. WWE Hall of Famer Nikki Bella wasted no time taking a jab at the champion on social media, writing, "The man has officially lost her. Loved watching her get destroyed. LOL, that was fun. Congrats to AJ and her husband too." With Dupree now holding a surprise victory over the man, questions are already swirling. Could this lead to a Women's Intercontinental Championship match, or will Becky seek revenge before that happens? Either way, tonight's Raw made one thing clear: Maxine Dupree is no longer just a side character, and Becky Lynch just found herself a brand new rival. Backstage on Raw, tensions flared as AJ Styles and Dragon Lee approached Penta, hoping to recruit him for a six-man tag against the Judgment Day. Before they could seal the deal, chaos erupted nearby when Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Roxanne Perez, and Raquel Rodriguez brawled their way through the scene. Moments later, the Judgment Day appeared and couldn't resist taking verbal shots at Styles. Dominic Mysterio in particular made his presence felt, taunting the Phenomenal One with a smug grin. "How do you expect to beat John Cena when you couldn't even beat me?" Born out of that heated exchange, AJ Styles, Penta, and Dragon Lee squared off against Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough in a high-energy trios match. The Judgment Day controlled much of the early going, isolating Dragon Lee and punishing him in their corner with quick tags and coordinated offense. When Penta finally tagged in, he brought a burst of intensity, but the heels quickly regrouped, cutting him off before he could shift the momentum. A late hot tag to Styles sparked a babyface comeback. At one point, Mysterio attempted a 619, but Rusev stomped to the ring, still looking to avenge his controversial loss to Dirty Dom on last week's show. Penta wiped him out, allowing Mysterio to escape. From there, the Phenomenal One took advantage of the distraction, caught McDonough, and delivered the Styles Clash for the win. While the bout itself was solid, it clearly served a larger purpose, showcasing the growing list of feuds circling Dominic Mysterio. The young heel continues to be at the center of multiple rivalries, though many fans have noticed that Penta's momentum is cooled, and Dragon Lee still feels underutilized despite his standout performances. After the match, a fired-up AJ Styles grabbed a microphone and sent a message straight to John Cena ahead of their highly anticipated clash at Crown Jewel. "We don't need a story, John. We are the story. This Saturday, we finish it in Perth." Later in the night, it was announced that Dominic Mysterio will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Penta next week on Raw, though with Rusev expected to be nearby, that match may be anything but clean. Will Rusev's revenge cost Dominic his title, or will the Judgment Day's chaos continue to spread through Raw? Backstage, Roman Reigns caught up with the Usos and made one thing clear: he didn't want Jey Uso's help at Crown Jewel. Instead, he told his cousin to stay focused and subtly took offense that CM Punk opened the second hour of Raw instead of him. As he walked off, Reigns reminded Jimmy that he sees everything, questioning why it's suddenly a problem for Jey to take advice from his own family. That uneasy tension within the cousins carried directly into the next segment, where CM Punk returned to Raw and wasted no time addressing his mission to reclaim the World Heavyweight Championship by the year's end. But Punk wasn't the only one eyeing the gold. LA Knight interrupted him mid-promo, firing verbal shots about Punk being more focused on his marriage than his matches. The megastar reminded Punk that he's never lost to Seth Rollins, only for Punk to counter with a sharp truth: Knight's never been world champion either. Before things escalated further, Jey Uso hit the ring, clearly acting on his own intentions to chase the title, putting all three men on a collision course. Moments later, Jimmy Uso appeared, creating chaos that ended with Punk taking down Jey, only for Jimmy to level Punk with a super kick. What started as a predictable who's next for the title segment ended in mayhem, teasing a possible tag match between Punk and Knight versus the Usos. Backstage, tension continued to spread through WWE's top factions. In a brief but telling exchange, a visibly shaken Seth Rollins asked Paul Heyman what would happen if he lost to Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel. Heyman's answer was evasive, and Rollins immediately called him out for dodging responsibility. The wise man simply told Rollins that one day he'd need to ask himself why Heyman chose him instead of Roman Reigns. That line all but confirmed what many have been predicting: Rollins' days in the Vision are numbered. Every week, Heyman's influence pulls further toward Brock Lesnar's rumored arrival and Rollins' inevitable ousting from the faction. Meanwhile, back in the OG Bloodline's locker room, Roman Reigns observed a heated argument between the Usos. Jey confronted Jimmy for interrupting him during the earlier segment, accusing his brother of protecting CM Punk. Jey stormed off, leaving Reigns to offer Jimmy some cold advice. He reminded him that when Jey won the world title, he started to resemble the OTC, and sometimes the best way to help him is to step aside. Even with talk of a changed Reigns, his trademark manipulation and control over his family were on full display, just as fans remember from his reign of dominance. That earlier confrontation came full circle in the main event, as CM Punk and LA Knight teamed up against the Usos in a blockbuster tag match. The twins relied on their experience to dominate much of the action, isolating Knight and wearing him down. But a fiery hot tag to Punk turned the tide, igniting the crowd as the best in the world rallied back. Momentum shifted again when Jey speared Punk, only to be caught moments later with a devastating go-to-sleep. Just as Punk looked to finish it, Knight tagged himself in and stole the pinfall, cementing his claim for the next world title shot. It was a short but explosive main event that served multiple storylines at once: Punk and Knight's brewing rivalry, Jey's mounting frustration, and the growing pressure within the twins. And with Jey taking the loss, Roman Reigns won't be happy when he finds out. So where is all this heading? Will Seth Rollins finally be ousted from the Vision, and will Roman's manipulation push the Usos past the breaking point? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Backstage on Raw, tensions within the Kabuki Warriors hit a breaking point. Asuka, asserting full control of her team, demanded a match between Kairi Sane and Io Sky for later in the night. When Sane hesitated, unsure about facing her former partner, the Empress of Tomorrow made her authority clear, slapping Sane across the face and warning her to obey. The moment underscored the growing imbalance between the two, setting the tone for what would follow. When the bell finally rang, Sky wasted no time striking first, ambushing Asuka before the match even began and sending her crashing to the floor. Once the action officially started, Sky channeled her frustration into raw aggression, dominating Sane through the early minutes, but Sane's resilience came through. Fighting through the pain, she countered Sky's offense and slowly shifted momentum back in her favor. The turning point came when Asuka got involved from ringside. Her distraction gave Kairi just enough of an opening to roll up Sky for the win. At Asuka's command, Sane reluctantly delivered a brutal back fist and followed it with the insane elbow, leaving Sky laid out as Asuka smirked in approval. With Rhea Ripley absent, likely already in Australia for Crown Jewel promotion, the question now becomes, can Io still trust her tag partner after being left alone tonight? From a storytelling standpoint, the segment was smartly executed. Ripley and Sky are expected to win in Ripley's home country, so this gave Asuka and Sane a necessary boost before the event. The duo's colder, more ruthless edge has reignited their momentum, and that Alabama slam from Kairi to Io onto the apron looked absolutely vicious. Still, the tension between Asuka and Sane continues to build. When Kairi finally snaps, the reaction could be explosive. Should WWE pull the trigger now, or let it burn a little longer? A week after saving Bayley from a 2-on-1 attack by the Judgment Day, Lyra Valkyria reignited her rivalry with Roxanne Perez on Raw. Perez targeted Lyra's left arm throughout the match, weakening her offense and limiting her trademark moves. With Bayley cheering on from ringside, Valkyria battled back, but chaos erupted when Raquel Rodriguez floored Bayley with a big boot, giving Perez the opening to hit Pop Rocks for the win. After the match, Bayley's frustration boiled over. She nearly turned on Valkyria before teaming with her backstage to ambush Roxanne and Raquel. WWE later announced the tag match for the October 13th Raw. Bayley's slow heel shift remains compelling, though the repetitive matchups risk wearing out fan interest. That's it, guys. How was Raw this week for you? Which segment stood out for you and why? Please sound off in the comments below. Don't miss our next video coming at 5:30 p.m. Eastern with all the latest wrestling updates. Smash that bell icon and select all notifications so you're always in the loop.